What is a selection?
What are layers?
What is resolution?
What is a JPEG?
What is TIFF?
What is RGB?
How do I crop a picture?
What is a zoom tool?
What is a clone stamp?
What are levels?
My name is Eric Basir, and I have produced this unique photo restoration and retouching foundations video course to answer all these questions and more. In my classes and workshops, I have taught hundreds how to preserve and restore their personal photographic collections with Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Photoshop Elements. Now you can have me as your personal instructor in this 10-lesson course. After studying the videos and easy-to-read workbook, you'll finish with a firm foundation of how to use Adobe Photoshop or any other photo editing program confidently and correctly. Welcome to Ask the Retoucher. My name is Eric Basir, and I am the janitor and senior retoucher, editor, salesman, bookkeeper in this dark dungeon where we work on pictures. People may wonder, why is it so dark? Why is it so dark? Well, if you have all kinds of lights coming into the screen, it makes it very difficult to see the subtleties in color on the monitors. I mean, you could have a lot of overhead lights, but I just don't like to do that because I like to have all my attention focused right there on the screen and no distracting elements. And sometimes when you're working with these monitors, the color subtleties are just so hard to catch when you have ambient light behind you and on top of you, so that's why we keep it so dark in here, not hiding anything or doing something we shouldn't be doing. Well, we have just a great show today. Mail. We have mail. We have a letter. And I just love getting mail from fellow seekers on the path of fine photo retouching. And this gentleman asks me, I have a number of 35mm slides from which I would like to make prints. Can I use an HP PSC 2355 all-in-one printer to do it? If not, is there a reasonably priced way to do it? Well, unfortunately, that particular all-in-one printer, I plan to get it up here for you in a minute. This particular printer is a very what we would call a very inexpensive type of printer with very few features, and in fact, well, there's quite a lot of features, but very few features that will give you precision on your photographs. Let me jump to it right here, and this is here it is right here on screen. I'll get you a larger one. And it is not designed for slides. It's not designed for 35mm or any type of slides or negatives, excuse me, for that matter. So you might be able to concoct a few things. There's some interesting videos on the internet of people who take these types of flatbed scanners and they scan negatives. There are some interesting attachments that you can experiment and look at on our blog, where you see the answer to this question. I have some interactive links for you to do that kind of research. My recommendation for a scanner, particularly for slide slides, 35 millimeter negatives, 35 millimeter slides, is what's known as the Nikon CoolScan. Unfortunately, they have, I believe they've ceased production of these scanners. They are difficult to find, but you can find them. Also, go to the blog for that information. I would also recommend the newer flatbeds with transparency trays on them and transparency adapters. And Epson has a series called Perfection scanners, and also on the blog, and get this right here for you. We have my favorite at this time is the Epson Perfection V500, and this is pretty decent. The technology for scanning negatives and slides that using a flatbed scanner has greatly improved over the years, and Epson is doing a good job in my opinion. Canon is also up there with some options as well. Do your research. You won't necessarily find everything that you want all the time, but I think that if you do your research and you educate yourself and you ask questions, ask people such as myself, what do you think I should do? This should take care of you. Now, I also recommend that you make sure when you have a good scanner, you got some decent software. So, Adobe Photoshop Elements is a great program. You're talking 100 or less, and it's not as expensive as the full-blown version of Photoshop, what I call the big Photoshop. And get a good book, get a good teacher, and of course, we are not in any deficit when it comes to good teaching materials.
What makes a good scan?
What is a selection?
What are layers?
What is resolution?
What is a JPEG?
What is TIFF?
What is RGB?
How do I crop a picture?
What is a zoom tool?
What is a clone stamp?
What are levels?
My name is Eric Basir, and I have produced this unique photo restoration and retouching foundations video course to answer all these questions and more. In my classes and workshops, I have taught hundreds how to preserve and restore their personal photographic collections with Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Photoshop Elements. Now you can have me as your personal instructor in this 10-lesson course. After studying the videos and easy-to-read workbook, you'll finish with a firm foundation of how to use Adobe Photoshop or any other photo editing program confidently and correctly. So, the next thing that I actually mentioned a book, and there's a great series of books by a company. It's called the Teach Yourself Visually series. The Teach Yourself Visually series. I also have this on the blog. Just go to photografix.pro and go to our blog and look up this article. Do a search for Teach Yourself Visually, and I'll show you on the screen here. And so I clicked on the link for this, and here we have quite a number of books. Of course, there's some books by yours truly, but here's the Photoshop and Photoshop Elements series. And what you do is you pick the one for the version that you have. So we still need to put up Photoshop 8 up there, but you know, if you have Photoshop Elements 8, you know, these are just some great books. I mean, they make it so easy